In this video, you will get bite-sized lessons from this #1 bestseller book. I'm offering this lesson to you for free as part of my company's mission to help you reach your music dreams and have fun along the way. You will find the playlist with all videos from this course in the video description and comments. There may be information in previous videos that will make the video you are watching now easier to understand. I recommend watching the videos in order. Hi, I'm Dan Spencer, author of the Best Music Theory book for beginners. Over 5,000 people have purchased this book, pushing it to hit #1 bestseller in its category on Amazon. Finally, if you would like to get this #1 book, the workbook, for free, along with quizzes, interactive flashcards, and more bonuses, links are in the video description and in the comments. And now, here is the next lesson and the Best Music Theory course, Level 1. In the next 2 lessons, we're going to unpack the word beat. What is a beat? What does it mean? And how does it relate to rhythm and also pulses? So a beat is a type of rhythm. In the same way that a pulse was a type of rhythm, beat is a type of rhythm. So you can call beat rhythm, but a beat is not a pulse and a pulse is not a beat. So a beat is often counted or connected to, associated with, thought of being part of a particular pulse. When this association, when this connection, when this thought happens, a beat is then called the beat, and it is felt like the pulse. So when you feel the beat, I'm sure you've heard a song in your life, or you've heard someone say, "Can you feel the beat?" What they mean is, can you feel the pulse? Can you also hear where the pulse should be in the fact that you're feeling that pulse? Where in the last lesson, where we were clapping along with the music, maybe you clapped in one of those 3 different pulse places. When someone says, "Can you feel the beat?" what they're saying is, can you feel this pulse that I am also feeling? So a beat can align with a pulse sound in the sense that a beat can be even in the same way that a pulse is even. But it's not going to be exactly the same every single time. That's what's the difference between the pulse and the beat. But a beat can still be even, just like a pulse sound. A beat, just like we talked about, can also align with the pulse feeling. So someone says, "Can you feel the beat?" What they're saying is, can you feel the pulse that I am feeling? Now, a beat is different from a pulse because it can be loud, it can be quiet, and each sound in the beat does not have to be the same as the beat that came before it. So a beat is actually made up of different pulses that are all different from each other. And sometimes there can be more than one sound or more than one pulse happening at a time. And all these different sounds or pulses come together to create a beat. So let's look at this nifty little graphic here. And sure enough, you can see that sometimes there's 2 sounds happening at the same time. There's 2 different pulses happening at the same time. So using this graphic as an example, let's break down and understand how many different pulses are happening here. So we have pulse number 1 is down here. We have pulse number 2 is here. And we can see pulse number 1, there's no other pulse number 1s because there's no other sounds happening at the same noise level there. So by definition, if it's not happening at the same noise level, it's not going to be a pulse. Also, if it doesn't sound the same, it's not going to be a pulse. Here's pulse number 2. Are there any other pulse number 2s? Nope. No pulse number 2s. All right, how about pulse number 3? We're going to do pulse number 3 in a different color here. So pulse number 3. Looks like we have 2 pulse number 3s. Okay, so a pulse can repeat. Yeah, that's what pulses do. They repeat. Now let's get one more color. Let's do blue. How about? We have pulse number 4, and we have pulse number 5. So within this one beat, we can have 5 different sounds, 5 different pulses that all come together to create the feeling of a beat happening. In the next lesson, we are going to listen to and break down a complete audio example of a beat. In this lesson, you are going to hear an audio example of a beat that's actually going to line up with this graphic so we can understand how all those different pulses can come together to create something completely different called a beat. This is example 3 from the book. So you can hear that there are definitely different things happening here. Okay, now let's go through and break it down. So watch for me when I point like this is when pulse number 1 and pulse number 2 are happening. And we have pulse number 1 and pulse number 2. We're going to color code these. Oh, how about red? These are pulse number 1 and pulse number 2. So whenever these happen, I'm going to go like this. Here we go. Pulse number 1 and 2. Okay, so that's pulse number 1 and 2. 1 plus 2. Now you can hear that in pulse 1 and 2, there's one really low sound, and there's sort of a higher clicking sound. There's like a thump, like someone's dropping something, and then there's a little click up above it. Let's listen to it one more time. Right there. Hear that? It was like something fell, went thump, and something also went click. Okay, so the thump, that's pulse number 1, that's the lower one. And then that higher click, that's pulse number 2. Now let's listen out for pulse number 3. And remember, pulse number 3 actually happens 2 times. So for every 1 time that we have pulse number 1 and 2, we're going to have pulse number 3 is going to happen 2 times. See that? We have 2 3s. Now let's get our little color coding going here. All right, so here's pulse number 3. Okay, we're going to listen to the music now, and I'm going to point out again with my finger where pulse number 3 is happening. Pulse number 3 is sort of a hollow clicking sound. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Okay, so pulse number 3, let's listen to it one more time so you can really get it. It's that hollow clicking sound. That right there, a little pop. That. See, there it is again. There it is again. Pulse 3. Pulse 3. Pulse 3. Pulse 3. Okay, so let's unpack what we have so far in terms of our pulses. We have pulse number 1 and 2. Now, every time pulse number 1 and 2 happen, they sound exactly the same. They also happen at even intervals of time. So 1 and 2, they come back around every single time they're exactly the same. That means they are both pulses, but they're 2 different pulses. Now, pulse number 3, every single time it comes back around, it's the same volume, it sounds the same, it's not speeding up, it's not slowing down, so it is a different pulse from pulse number 1 and 2. Now, one more thing to point out, I know I mentioned this earlier, but this really is important, that pulse number 3 is happening 2 times for every 1 time that pulse 1 and 2 happens, and then pulse 3 happens 2 times. And pulse 3 is still happening at even intervals. It sounds exactly the same. It is a pulse, for sure. Now let's talk about pulse number 4 and 5. We're going to give these guys the blue color. Okay. I'm going to point out again with my finger every single time pulse 4 and 5 come around. That right there, that sound. That. There it is again. So it might be a little hard for you to hear that there's two separate sounds there, but there are. There's sort of this drum sound, this pop happening, and then also there's another hollow clicking sound that's different from the other hollow clicking sounds happening on top of it. There it is. Can you hear that there's a drum hit and a hollow clicking sound there? If you can't, that's okay. Just as long as you can hear that 4 and 5 are happening together and that they are different from 1 plus 2 and 3, that's all you really need. So there you go. Every time we go through this series of pulses, 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus 5, 3. 1 plus 2 is happening one time, 3 is happening 2 times, and 4 plus 5 are happening 1 time. Let's listen to this example one more time, and I'm going to call out the beats as they happen. 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus 5, 3. 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus 5, 3. Listen. 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus 5, 3. 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus 5, 3. Excellent. I will see you in the next lesson where we are going to tie up all things beat. I will see you there. In this lesson, you're going to learn the rest of the uses of the word beat. So as we discussed before, beat can be used to describe a particular pulse. When someone says, "Can you feel the beat?" what they mean is, can you feel the pulse that I am feeling? And they actually may mean a particular beat, and we'll get to that in a couple of lessons when we talk about something called time signatures. Another use of the word beat is for an instrumental production for hip hop and sometimes for pop or dance music that is ready and waiting for a singer or rapper or MC, if you will, to sing or rap over the beat to make a song. An instrumental is when you have a piece of music that is just instruments. There's no vocals, there's no singing, there's no talking. Sometimes maybe there are little background pieces of singing or talking, but there's nothing that would capture your attention and make it feel like a song that you would sing along with on the radio or sing along with from a streaming service. So when we have just the piece of music without the rapping, without the singing, that instrumental piece of music is called a beat. I will see you in the next lesson. Oh, but it's not over yet. Click here to watch the next video lesson or up here for the full video playlist.